Hello people, welcome Beulah. I'm sitting here with the Xiaomi Band 7 and the Xiaomi Band 8, and the Xiaomi Band 8 has now been in Germany for a short time. It is already officially available internationally. It's been on the market for a little longer, but as I said, we can do it now to officially use it in Germany, and in today's video I just want to briefly show what actually happens. Differences between a 7 and an 8 are, and whether it's actually worth doing now or whether you can do it. I can safely just skip it. I basically have the phone. Volume 8 has already been set up, and the setup is exactly the same with the Band 7. Everything runs via the fitness app and also from. The scope of delivery here is more or less the same. That's what's included as in there is a charger in it and a bit of paperwork, and that's it. I hope at first glance you won't see any major differences here, but there are, is really so that the foamy band has become larger, around 1.5 millimeters, and not quite as thick anymore. But you'll notice that actually only if somehow one that thing is next to each other and you both. So at first glance you won't see what it is. 7 is what the 8 is also on. The band itself hasn't actually changed, it's the same foam. Bands that always feel like they're tearing off at the front, so that's actually true, identical in that the ones you will see visually at first glance. You can't see any difference in the display itself. There actually isn't any difference. That is still a 1.26-inch AMOLED display, which is still pretty, is the only thing I now like, that the brightness of that 8 has now increased from 5 to 600 nothing. You really only notice it minimally, and the sun really shines even with others. Otherwise it looks relatively identical, otherwise maybe something. The bigger difference is that we now have 60 Hz here. Foam tape 8, while it is on the 7s, only have 30 Hz, which can be a bit strappy or awkward. But here again you can only see the difference if you look at both next to each other. If you use 7A all the time you won't get one. The difference is great, so if I think it's also about the hardware installed here, there's nothing new in it now. Somehow the processor is great faster or something like that just comes to mind immediately through these 60 Hz. That the display shows. Another rather minor change is the battery. It was originally installed here 180 mAh in Band 7, now we are at 190 mAh. Yes, let's squeeze out half a day longer by saying that. So you won't notice a big difference, and whether this is now 10 or 10 and a half or 11. There's nothing going on for days, but it's nice that the battery is definitely there, has become larger and not smaller like other manufacturers. You can't say too much about sensors because it wasn't quite like that transparent when it was introduced. It was already from a 6-axis motion movement sensors spoken. In the old one it was. Officially there are 3 axes, but there's also a gyroscope in there or something like that. So I'm assuming that this is still the case for both, more or less. The same technology will be there, and there probably isn't a big one either. You will notice the difference because GPS is still available in both versions. Not there yet, so in that respect, and maybe the last one actually. Change probably for 99% of you too has no relevance whatsoever. We now have 130 sports instead. Activities 150. I haven't looked at which sports activities are included. But the standards have come like this. Going for a run, riding a bike, on a treadmill and so on. We've already done it one way or another, so in that respect. Tell me whether wet sport has now come to you now. It used to be that you absolutely needed it. The previous model is even cheaper, so it's not official now. Look like everything else on the market on eBay and company. We're at that now. 8th, yes, at around €40, which is quite good. The price for the barbell is I currently don't have one for the 700. I've seen more great offers because otherwise it was always like that. Suddenly it only cost €20, so if you get it for me cheap we'll pay €20 and then get that, but otherwise, as I said, it's almost identical, and if you already have 7s then you definitely don't have to carry out an update, and then you have to make a few more changes and force it so that it's really worth it. Yes, that's it for now. Short video. I hope the video helped you and a lot else. It's still fun. Ciao ciao, music.